Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar for the diagnosis of the PRMHH regarding the MRC de Papineau, Pontiac, Collines-de-l'Outaouais, and Vallée de la Gatineau. In this webinar, we'll discuss the methodology, the criteria, and the results of the diagnosis. But first, let's do a little recap regarding the PRMHH. So there's 5 steps. First, there was the preparation and beginning of the procedure. So that's the organization of the consultation plan and work tools. And that's completed. And after that, there was the territory profile. So that's the description of the environmental and characteristic and land use of the region. That is also completed. And the steps that we just completed is the diagnosis of the wetlands and water environments. In that step, we had to evaluate the wetlands and water environments regarding the ecological services that they offer. After that step, we will have the step of engagements of conservation, in which we will evaluate the prioritization of the wetlands and water environments of interest for conservation. After that step, there will be the elaboration of this conservation strategy, and that's the creation of a method of evaluation that will ensure the target of engagements and conservation. Now for the diagnosis. First, let's start from the beginning. So everything starts with the UGA, which are the geographical unities of analysis. As you can see on the map on the left, there's about 12 or 13 of them. And each of those UGA has a different reality regarding the environmental and socio-economical aspects of the territory. And for each of those UGA, we had to evaluate the strengths, the opportunities, the weaknesses, and the threats. With that, we could, after that, look at the environmental issues for each of the UGAs and how the wetlands and the water environments contribute to those environmental issues. After all those steps, we are able now to come up with the orientation of conservation, the goals of the conservation, and the choices of conservation. And now for the prioritization of the wetlands. Well, first, there's 2 different filters to evaluate the criteria. First, there's the rough filters. So those are based on the ecological services and varies from a scale to 0 to 1. Those filters are the buffer zone naturality, the area, the vegetal diversity, the refill of the groundwater reserve, the erosion control and riverbank stability, the contribution to water quality or absorption of nutritious or harmful elements, the primary production, the proximity to other wetlands, and the contribution to carbon sequestration and the hydrological regularization and water retention. After those rough filters are applied, we apply some fine filters, which are based of the specific characteristic of the territory. So those can be answered by a yes or no. The first one is the if there's a natural constraint that stops the urban development, the rarity, the ecological corridors, the legal status of protection, if there's a wildlife habitat, if there's an exceptional forest ecosystem, if there's an endangered species, if there's an alien invasive species, if there's an alvar, and also if there's a drinkable water source in the wetland buffer zone. So those are the criteria for the wetlands. And if you are more visual, there's a graphic explaining how each of those criteria can be applied to the wetlands. If you want to see more of this image, you can also find it on our website. So now for the land division. So as I was saying, we had to divide the land by UGA. So for the MRC de Collines that we see here, there are 3 main UGAs. The first one is the Saint-Laurent Lowlands. The issues for that UGA are the water quality, the floodings, and the demographic growth. After that, we have the Gatineau Park. That UGA has the issues of also the demographic growth and the maintenance of biodiversity levels. And for the last UGA, which is the center of the Collines, the issues are demographic growth and flooding and potential landslide areas. So how does that apply to the wetlands? Well, first here on the map, you can see all the wetlands for the UGA of the center of the Collines. And if there's only one issue that is mappable, so there's only one, the demographic growth, we don't have data for that one. So the only issues that we can look at geomatically is the flooding and potential landslide area. The criteria for that issue are the water level regularization and water retention, the control of the erosion of riverbank stabilization, and the natural constraint that stop urban development. So if we apply all those criteria to the wetlands that we see currently, it will now look like this. So the color of the wetlands changes depending on how many criteria that they can apply to. So if the wetland is if the wetland is red, that means that no criteria for the issue is respected. And if it's dark green, that means all of the criteria are respected. Now, if we look to the UG of the Saint Laurent lowlands, there's two issues. There's the water quality and the floodings, which are the frequency and the flood zones. So there's more criteria for that, since there's two issues. There's the primary production, the buffer zone naturality, the contribution to water quality of or absorption of nutrients or harmful elements, the drinkable water source in the wetland buffer zone, the water level regularization and water retention, and also the control of erosion of riverbank stabilization and natural constraint that stops urban development. So since there's two issues, the results will appear differently. So it looks like this, and it's instead of how many criteria are respected, it's how many issues are respected. So if we look at the map, the red signifies that no issues. The wetlands don't respect any criteria for both of the issues. And if it's dark green, that means that they respect the criteria for both of the issues. So in the prioritization phase, that means that we want to prioritize those ones since they can respect more issues. And now for the water environments, that method was developed by Silvio Demers, who is a fluvial geomorphologist, and is also based on the ecological services given by the water environments. The services that are looked at is first the hydrologic regularization, the pollutant regulation, the drinkable water supply, the biodiversity, and the cultural services. So in that method, there is 4 index that will help us prioritize the water environments. First, there's the morphological quality index that measures the degree of alteration by entrophic causes. So how the percentage of entomological land is in the water basin or the stream river. So basically by the presence of human. And after that, there's the capacity, which is the potential of the water environments to provide ecological services, which is the vegetation, sinuosity braiding of the stream, the confinement of the floodplain, and the presence of riverbank wetlands. The next index is the demand, so the quality of the ecological services that are designed or used by society. So that takes in the land use, the number of people supplied by a surface water source, the number of people exposed to floods, the biodiversity richness, the interest point of patrimonial or recreational value. And last, there's the pressure. So certain pressures can jeopardize the use of the water environments, and those pressures are the water quality, the alien invasive species, and the high water levels and the low water levels. So once again, we have a graphic that explains how each ecological service is displayed on the land, and that graphic is also on our website. And now for the results. So there's 2 ways to look at the results for the water environments. First, there's the water basin ability to offer ecological services. As we can see, we are in the MRC of the Collines, and it's it's basically the same as the wetlands. So if it's dark green, that means the ability to offer ecological services is high. And if it's dark red, that means it's very low. But if we want to get more specific, we can look at each streams and river individually. So it's the same process. So if it's a dark green, that means it's high, and if it's dark red, that means it's very low. So that's the ability of the streams and rivers to offer ecological services. And as you can see, that gives us a better look at the reality of the territory. And that's pretty much it for the results. If you want more information, you can get that on our website. So this is for the territory profile. We have one of each for every MRC. You can find the text portion, all the maps, and all the graphics for those territory profile. And if you want more information regarding the diagnosis, you can find the text for that on the website, and also all the maps for every MRC on our website also. And yeah, that's it for this webinar. Thank you for listening. And if you want to stay in contact with us, don't hesitate. You can send an email to us. You have my email address on the screen. And yeah, thank you for listening. Have a good day.